Hey, what's up guys? Kody YGO here. Sorry I haven't posted a video in a while, but over this past weekend I got first place at a case tourney here in Vegas. It was only 60 people, but it was a 9-round event, so I felt like it was worthy enough to post my results. So starting in with the deck profile, I have the main engine, so I run 3 blue, 3 jet, 2 red, 1 carrot. This has been pretty standard recently. I felt like this was enough. Sometimes I did miss the 3rd red, but that could be changed with different ratios later on in the future. I ran 3 diva. I chose this over any other package because of a tech card I ran in the side, and there's a cool combo with it. I ran 3 swap, 1 Ronin, no dupe. Dupe sucks. It's just a brick, and I'd rather have cards that always do something. 3 starter, 1 smashers. This is probably the best one by far. Usually in my combo, I hate searching smashers unless I'm already established. So I usually just always search for another starter. And then instead of prosperity, I decided to run 2 desires. I don't know if that was correct, but the reason why I chose these 2 over the 2 prosperity was because of the hand traps, and you'll see why. And going on to the hand traps, I ran 3 nib, 3 ash, 3 Veiler, 3 crow, 3 ogre, 3 imperm, and 1 call by. So this acted kind of like a hand trap. Basically, it was really good going second, and I played 18 real hand traps. I realistically lose a lot of die rolls, so I just wanted the most optimum build to go second and first. The deck's already really good going first, and again, this was really good, especially in paired with the 2 desires, because almost everything's a 3 of, and I really just don't want a brick, but I also really want a good chance of winning going second. And you'll see in my my matchups and tournament report the reason why I did so well with this deck. Going on to the extra deck, shout out to the studs, the group chat, shout out to everyone in Hawaii. I ran 1 Almirage. At first I thought this wasn't necessary, but the more I played with it, the more I saw the grind. This is actually needed post turn 1 when you need to have just a normal summon, swap, banish, and then go into your elf that way. Speaking of elf, 2 elf. There is a build where you can run 3. I did miss it one time, but there's a couple cards that I would cut in here, so I can talk about those changes afterwards. I ran IP, Crystron, Dark, Unicorn. I felt like all of this was like necessary. Hulk was really good. Hulk is used for one of my combos. Dark is also really good because I run the nib, and so it's actually really good against the mirror match. When I have a nib on field and I have like a random DD Crow or something, I can just normal summon it, steal their monster, bait out a hand trap. The card I regret playing was Abramax. I felt like I wanted a card for tier limits, but there was like 0 tier limits at this event. This could have honestly been Boral Sword, or there's another card that I would have played over it. I don't know if I'm gonna release that yet. There's another tournament coming up in the future, so this is gonna be something else for sure. I run 2 Gigantic, 1 Toad, 1 Downer, 1 Zeus. I didn't run the Soul Sweeper, I didn't run Sky Cavalry. I thought Cavalry was terrible. Personally, I hate that card, and I really wanted as many engine cards and flex spots in my extra deck, and I felt like the extra deck was really tight because I ran Locust and Omega. So for me, these 2 were like one of the best cards, especially with a couple cards in my side deck. I was able to get hand trap multiple times, and with the diva play, I could usually end on diva, which like adds a hand trap. I can end on Toad, Crystron, Halky, Fibrax, which rips 2 cards out of their hand. So I would end up in like 4 interruptions on my board, and then have potentially 2 more by hand ripping them. Plus in the side deck, I do side out some of the frog engines, so that makes this dead. So the only play I realistically have is the Omega Desert Locust. Onto the side deck. I ran 3 Gamma, 1 Driver. I really like this in the side deck. It's really bad going first, it's good going second. So in paired with that, for almost every matchup going second, I put in these 7 cards. This card's crazy. I really love this card. This is what I was talking about with the loop. So I side out some of the frog engine. So I would mainly run like pure Spright with just a big hand trap lineup, and then the main play I would go for is like a Hawk, Elf, and then just on their turn I would generate advantage with the negates from the Spright cards, and then rip 2 cards. But if I drew another card in my side deck, then I could potentially rip 3 cards out of their hand. 1 Pank. Pank Tops is really good versus the mirror. Yeah, that's about it. 3 Twin, 1 Reboot, it's 4 cards. There is a change I would make. I would cut one of the twins for something else, which I'll show on the side, but I didn't really play against too many backer decks, so I felt like this was pretty much, it wasn't really needed, except for this card. This card came in almost every time against everything going second, because everybody should have been playing like anti-spell, or the best card in the side deck probably is a pointer. A pointer is really good. We've been theorizing it for a while. We noticed that because Sphere Mode, Lava Golem, Dark Ruler are in this format, we needed cards that pair really well into it rather than only anti-spell, which, as you see in this deck, the only real spells I can run is like 2 realistically, because everything else is a quick play, so it doesn't hurt the Spright matchup, and Tier Limits can just out it really easily. So we thought it was bad going into those matchups. So a pointer was really good, because if we looked at their hand, saw they had too many non-engine, we just take out the starter, and then they have to pass their turn. So going into the changes, or like things I would consider in the future, this is 1 card for sure. So in my theory, I would run like either 41, keep it at 41 or 40, and just take out one of the big blowout cards like Nib, so I would swap in Nib for Dark Rulers. But I really do respect a lot of other decks in the format, like Sword Soul and stuff. Dark Ruler is good against Sword Soul, but it doesn't help with the blackout problem, which is the main problem that Spright has against that deck. So I felt like Nib was also really good. But if there's a decline in like all of those other decks very heavily, and there is mainly Spright, Tier Limits, and like Dragon Link and stuff, then I can see where this can come in, and I would just cut the Nibs. But as of right now, I'm still like back and forth between the 2. Another card is Monster Reborn. So in my other list, I just cut the 2 Desires, and then put these 4 in instead of Nibs, and then put this in for the 1, so I made it have a clean 40 list. Because this is really good when your starter gets interrupted, like you get Gamma or you get Ogred on Swap Frog. Because there are some times where you just don't even use the normal summon effect because it's too risky. So having this card always ensures that you're always good to go through hand traps. Also, it's a really good card going second when you've been paired with this card against the mirror. Because after you Dark Ruler them, you can just Monster Reborn back their blue or jet, and then you get a free plus. So you have your combo that way. And then the last 2 cards is the Smashers, which will be in place of the Twin. I just wanted more searchable engine that can out like back row hate. And then the last card is Pixies. So Pixies is another card I'm going back and forth on, where I just cut these Desires, put the Pixies in the main deck. And then this card's actually really insane in testing. It's an Honest, but it's also another name, which is super important. I feel like the level 2 is probably the more important part of it. It could be another carrot, but I'd rather have a board where I can summon 5 Spright monsters to play around multiple hand traps, except for like Nib Veiler, of course. But this card's really good, especially with the swap, because you can have multiple negates with carrot, red, so you can just, if they have Imperm Veiler, you can negate with the red, and then you can negate with the carrot by using this. So that's where that name comes up. And then the Smashers is also really good. So going on to my matchups, round 1 I played against the mirror match Spright. I won that 2-0, lost the dice roll. Round 2, Adventure Punk, I 2-0'd that, lost the die roll. That one I mainly won because of the hand traps. Round 3 I played against Drytron, I 2-1 that, lost the die roll. Game 2, he had one card he could top deck for turn, which was Zeta, and he ended up drawing it. So even though I shifted him that game, which I thought would be an auto win, I lost that game. But then game 3 I ended up winning. Round 4 I played against Punk, 2-0. I won that die roll. Again, it was just kind of like this deck just outpaced Punk really well. The next round I played against Manabe. This was my first loss. I lost this one 1-2. I lost the die roll on this one. Game 3, he had about a 33% chance to win the match because for turn I didn't top deck a level 2, any level 2 in the deck, and I had just a Desert Locust, and then I had like a blue chillin', and I added Jet, and then he activated Fractorial and sniped the Jet and the blue, so I wasn't able to make Elf and come back from that game. Then the next round I played against Adventure Outlet, 2-0, lost the dice roll. Played against a buddy of mine. Yeah, that ended up that way. And then in Top Cut, I played against the Adventure Outlet again. 2-0, lost the dice roll. Then Top 4, I played against Math Mech Ignister. I played against Ed Exception, shout out to him. I won that one 2-1. I won the dice roll, but game 1 I blundered really hard. So the board was basically the standard board. Yeah, this is one that I can't forget because I realized like how bad it was. So I had this exact board against his Ignister deck, and then I activated red, so red was done. So I had Carrot, this, and then Toad. He baited something out, I used Toad. And then he activated the field spell to special summon, and instead of waiting, I attempted to use Carrot to try to destroy, but then I remembered that in order to destroy, I needed to use the Link monster, and I thought that was so bad. Like, I should have just waited on summon, special back Toad, wait for him to link another time, and then use Carrot to pop this, destroy the field spell. It would have been a whole different game because I felt like I had that. But yeah, I misplayed. It was my fault, and I learned from it now. So I'm not gonna do that again. And then in the finals, I played the mirror match. 2-1 that, lost the dice roll. So that one, I actually like misplayed really hard game 1. I pretty much wasted resources that I didn't have to. But then game 2, my hand was pretty good, I will say. So this was my hand. I went second, of course. So I drew Diva, Double Crow, Nib, Veiler. So I drew the 1-card starter plus 4 hand traps in the mirror. And I felt like he misplayed a little. Instead of searching the starter, another starter off Jet, he searched Smashers, but he played really hard into hand traps. So I didn't understand why you would grab Smashers in that sense, and especially in the mirror match when you know that I'm running as many hand traps too. And when I hit him with the Veiler first on the Gigantic, he chained red, and then that's where I chained Nib. He didn't expect the Nib to be in the deck for game 3, so this really worked well against the mirror, and I felt like this was so impactful because it just stopped the advantage right there. But then again, even if I have these two, I still have Double Crow, which can help with the frogs, so at least I don't have to deal with that. So yeah, overall he ended off with a Nib token and a set Smashers and a couple of hand traps. So on my turn, I was able to like normal summon Diva, special battle phase attack over token, attack the Gigantics, take some damage in. And then I attempted to use it, I got ogred. Then the next turn, he just set 1 pass, it was a cross out. I top decked blue, so I just looked in my hand, I just normal summoned DD Crow, battle phase, attack with DD Crow, attack with Nib. Even the commentators of that match were kind of wondering why I normal summoned this. They thought I was going into IP or something, but then I just made my dark, attempted to steal his jet because I had the blue in hand, which was the starter. And then he cross-outed his own jet to stop my plays. So I thought that was really like neg for him. And then I just special blue. And then it was basically game over from there because with the full combo, these 2 cards were still in my hand. I drew Ash for the turn previous with this hand. And then I drew blue for turn on my next follow-up. So I felt like this was really good. Overall, some things about the deck I would change. I mentioned it earlier. I had a really fun time. This is case tourney win number 9, which I'm really stoked about. Yeah, so I gave my shout outs earlier, but also shout out to Dragonites, shout out to Austin, I talked to him a lot, shout out to Joe, Midwest Gaming, sponsoring, and shout out to the studs again, best group chat, no cap. Alright, thank you.